Angels are speaking right now. Not with fear, not with chaos, but with urgency. Because someone watching this, standing right on the edge of breakthrough. And this is the final warning before it unfolds. You've been feeling the pressure, the resistance, the strange silence. And now, this message is your confirmation. You are closer than you think, but heaven is sounding an alert because what's ahead will require your full attention. There are no more delays, no more comfort zones, no more spiritual autopilot. This is the moment the enemy has tried hardest to sabotage, because breakthrough isn't coming. It's already happening in the spirit, but before it reaches you, there's one last sign you need to see so you don't miss what's been prepared. The angels are here to deliver it. Stay with me. The next few minutes, I'll reveal the 3 signs heaven sends right before breakthrough and how to recognize the final one. Don't scroll. Your moment is unfolding as we speak. God says, "You've been asking for answers, but now I'm giving you instructions. Those answers comfort you. But instructions prepare you, and this moment is not about comfort. It's about being positioned. Shift is already moving toward you, but heaven needs you to be able to carry it, not just celebrate it. So the angels have been sent ahead as divine messengers, as watchers, as guides not to announce your breakthrough, but to warn you what happens just before it. Because right before something opens, the enemy gets loud, the flesh gets tired, the distractions increase, and doubt disguises itself as logic. The final sign is never easy. It's not shiny. It's not peaceful. It's not what you expected. The final sign usually looks like sudden opposition, confusing silence, relational tension, or emotional exhaustion. But don't be fooled. This is not your breaking point. This is the pressure point that unlocks your promise. The angels are showing.
It's
What feels like chaos is actually confirmation. You think you're under attack, but heaven is testing your stamina, you think. You're going backwards, but the ground is breaking beneath the surface. You think you're being delayed, but God is letting the pressure purify you one last time. Why? Because what's on the other side of this won't require you to fight. The same way, you're about to cross into a new frequency, and the old tactics won't work there. So, heaven is shaking off anything still clinging to you from the previous season. And that shaking feels like pain, but it's actually permission. Here's the warning from the angels. Don't interpret spiritual surgery as failure. God is cutting things off right now, not because he's mad, because you can't carry this next scroll with that extra weight, that bitterness, that insecurity, that comfort with smallness. It can't go with you. So yes, it feels like everything is being stripped, but it's because you're being streamlined. Because when this breakthrough comes, there won't be time to question, only time to move. So God is making you lighter. You're not falling apart, you're being reassembled into someone who can handle the glory that's about to land. And angels are encircling you now, not to block the storm, but to walk you through it, because they know this is the final stretch. And this moment, it's sacred. Don't tap out now. Don't retreat. Don't curse the process. The final sign before breakthrough is always pressure, but pressure doesn't mean failure. It means you're close. So here are the 3 signs you're right on the edge. SIGN1. The noise increases. Everything around you starts pulling on your attention. Notifications, drama, doubts, emotional distractions. That's not random. It's sabotage disguised as urgency. Ignore the noise. The scroll is still speaking. SIGN2. Unexpected tension arises. Relationships feel strained. People withdraw. Misunderstandings increase. Why? Because God is forcing separation from anything that might dilute your assignment. SIG3. Deep, holy exhaustion hits. You're tired, not just physically, but in your bones, in your soul. That's not depression. That's heaven removing all strength except for faith. Because what's next won't be achieved by hustle. It will be released by alignment. The angels are watching. They're guarding your gate, and they're waiting for one thing: your decision to stand anyway. Because on the other side of this pressure is the promise. On the other side of this confusion is clarity you've never known. And on the other side of this final test is the scroll you've been dreaming of. Say yes, not to more striving, but to staying still in faith, just a little longer, because heaven has already begun the release and your breakthrough is already en route. Something is shifting in the unseen, something divine, something irreversible. You may not feel it, but in the spirit, heaven is preparing to release your name, not just to bless you, but to assign you. And when that happens, nothing in your life will stay the same. But first, something else always happens, something few talk about, something most people misinterpret. Right before heaven releases your name, you will feel forgotten, not because you are, but because you're being hidden for activation. This is the pattern of heaven. Before Jesus was revealed, he was hidden. Before David was crowned, he was rejected. Before Joseph was promoted, was falsely accused. Hiding always comes before revealing, and that moment you're in right now, the one that feels like silence, like delay, like confusion, is actually the holy chamber where God is preparing to release your name. You don't need to be noticed right now. You need to be refined, because the scroll that carries your name also carries weight. And God won't place your name in places where your character hasn't yet been tested. So if you're in the quiet, if doors have paused, if momentum seems frozen, that's not rejection. It's realignment. Because heaven does not promote ambition. Heaven promotes obedience. And before your name is released, your soul has to be ready to carry it. You can't crave applause anymore. You can't compare lanes anymore. You can't move by emotions anymore. You must be fully anchored. Because the rooms you're about to be called into will require presence, not performance. That's why you've been hidden. That's why they overlooked you. That's why you felt invisible. Because God didn't want you known before you were ready. He wanted you healed before you were seen. He wanted you anointed before you were applauded. He wanted you refined before you were recognized. And now, that process is nearly complete, which means your name is about to be released into systems, into circles, into conversations. People will suddenly think of you. Doors will open without pitching. Messages will arrive without strategy, because heaven spoke your name first. And when heaven speaks your name, earth has no choice but to echo it. But listen carefully. You must not mistake sudden visibility for arrival. This is not your ending. This is your entrance. God is not rewarding you. It's revealing you. And the places you're being released into will not make you. It will confirm what's already been forged in secret. That's why this hiding has been holy. That's why the delay was sacred. Because the version of you emerging now is ready. You no longer need affirmation. You no longer chase relevance. You no longer perform for approval. You've died to that, and now you're walking in what the angels have guarded. So this whole time, your name is not just being released, it's being revealed with glory. Heaven is placing weight on it, which means every room you enter now will feel the presence that follows. You not because of your talent, not because of your knowledge, because you carry scrolls. You carry fire, carry assignment. You've been asking for movement. God has given you mantle. Because when your name is spoken in heaven, the next thing that comes is responsibility, not applause, not platform, but territory. God is giving you keys to spaces that will shift atmospheres. Your words will carry weight. Your silence will carry power. Your very being will unlock scrolls in other people. This is what happens when your name is released. Heaven is not giving you attention. It's giving you authority. That's why the warfare increased. That's why the pressure spiked. Because darkness recognized the shift. Before you did, the resistance. You felt as proof of the reach you're about to have. And the reach isn't just external, it's eternal. Generations will trace their freedom back to the moment you said yes. And that yes is the only thing heaven needs now. You've passed the test. You've stayed hidden. You've stayed faithful. And now the angels are stirring. Because the scroll with your name has begun to glow. Heaven is speaking, and earth is about to respond. Pressure always comes first. Not applause, not promotion, not peace. Pressure. And that's where you are right now, in that strange in-between space. You're not in pain because you're failing. You're in pain because you're about to be trusted. With more right before every spiritual promotion, God allows pressure to test the posture of your heart. Will you worship without clarity? Will you obey without applause? Will you trust when nothing makes sense? Because God is not looking for talent. He's looking for someone who won't fold under weight, and right now, He's preparing you for weight. That's why everything feels heavy. It's not punishment, it's preparation. You're not breaking down. You're being broken open, because what's coming next is greater than what you're currently carrying. But before new capacity is given, old containers must be stretched. And that stretching feels like emotional intensity, mental fog, spiritual silence, physical fatigue, unexpected loss, but all of it is working for your good, because pressure in the kingdom isn't sent to crush you. It's sent to crown you. Let me show you something. Before oil can be poured, the olive must be crushed. Before gold is worn, it must be refined. Before wine is poured, grapes must be pressed. This is how heaven works. And you, right now, are in the press. Not because you're unworthy, but because you're chosen. You're not being punished. You're being prepared. Prepared for influence. Prepared for authority. Prepared to carry something heaven deems holy, and before heaven releases it. It always tests how you carry what's uncomfortable, because what's coming next will require more of you, and heaven won't give it to someone who hasn't proven they can steward pain without quitting. So yes, pressure is real. But so is the promotion. You may feel like you're breaking, but really, you're being positioned. Listen closely. Pressure reveals who you are when no one's watching. That's why you've been alone more lately. Why your circle got smaller. Why your schedule got quieter. Because heaven is not preparing your public. It's refining your private. You won't need to announce what's coming. Your presence will carry it. Your oil will prove it. Your fruit will speak it. But first, God is pressing you. Let it happen. Don't resist the pressing. Don't run from the stretch. Don't pray away the pressure. Submit to it, because pressure is not the absence of God. It's the presence of purpose. It's the moment before the release. It's the heat before the rising. It's the silence before the scroll opens. And you are almost there. Here's how you know your promotion is near. Things start to feel too tight. Old routines no longer satisfy. Old spaces feel restrictive. Old conversations no longer fit. That's not boredom. That's birthing. You start to see what others don't. Your vision sharpens. Your discernment increases. Your convictions grow deeper. That's not pride. That's prophecy rising in you. You start to feel out of place, even in rooms you used to love, even around people you used to admire. That's not loneliness. That's leadership being activated. Heaven promotes through pressure, not because God wants to scare you, but because pressure produces purity. It pushes out pretense. It forces out pride, squeezes out everything that would sabotage what's sacred. You've cried about it. You've fought it. You've tried to skip it. But now, you're surrendering to it. And that surrender is the final key. Because when you stop fighting the pressure, you start flowing in the purpose. So today, God is not saying just hold on. He's saying lean in. I'm stretching you so I can seat you. You're not being left behind. You're being launched. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. And soon, what felt like pressing will be seen as proof that you were ready all along. You've been sensing it, not with your eyes, not with logic, not even with evidence, but deep in your spirit. You know something is coming, something big, something divine, something that will shift the entire trajectory of your life. You can't explain it to anyone. You can't prove it. You may not even have words for it, but your spirit knows. Because before breakthrough shows up in the physical, it begins in the invisible, and your spirit is always first to detect the vibration of what heaven is preparing. That's why lately you've been uneasy. Your sleep has changed. Your appetite feels different. You've lost interest in conversations that used to excite you. This isn't depression. It's not mood swings. It's not random. It's spiritual sensitivity. You're not being pulled away from life. You're being called into alignment because heaven is stirring something that your spirit already recognizes. Even if your mind doesn't understand it yet, God designed you this way. He placed sensors in your spirit to help you prepare for things before they manifest. So while the world waits for signs, those who walk with God learn to feel the shift first. And right now your spirit is picking it up, that sense of discomfort. It's not confusion, it's a signal. It's the divine alert system saying, get ready. Something is approaching. Something too big for your current capacity. Something too sacred to fit in your old rhythm. This is why things feel tight, why your space feels small, why your normal doesn't satisfy anymore. It's not boredom, it's not burnout, it's birthing. Your spirit is sensing what heaven is, setting in motion, and it's refusing to settle for the old. You are not crazy. You are not unstable. You are spiritually tuned in. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are being summoned forward. But here's the challenge. When your spirit picks up on what your life hasn't yet caught up to, you feel disoriented. You feel like something's wrong when actually something's right. You've simply arrived at the moment where the next version of you is being activated. And activation always begins in the spirit. Before the phone rings, before the scrolls shift, before the doors open, your spirit will know. It will get quieter. It will become more alert. It will lose tolerance for the artificial. Because what's coming next cannot be mixed with what's fake. Heaven is refining your radar so you stop reacting emotionally, start responding spiritually. You won't need signs like before. You'll recognize things by resonance. If it's for you, you'll know. If it's off, your peace will leave the room. If it's divine, your spirit will sit still in it. Even if your flesh trembles, that's the next level you're entering, where your spirit leads. Everything else follows. Here's what this part of the process might look like. You start waking up between 3 a.m. to 5 a.m., not by chance, but by invitation. Heaven is calling you to a higher watch. People you once related to feel unfamiliar, not out of offense, but because they no longer carry your frequency. You cry more, not from sadness, but because your spirit is getting louder than your words. You get tired around surface conversations, because your spirit only wants depth now. This is all proof that your spirit is ahead of your season, and you must not ignore what it's telling you. Because when your spirit knows something, it's not just intuition, it's preparation. Your spirit is not confused, it's ahead. It's already touched what's coming. And it's now trying to bring your mind, body, choices into agreement. But this is where most people get stuck. Because when your spirit is ready, but your environment hasn't shifted yet, you feel tension, a holy discontent, a subtle frustration, a yearning for something more, but no clarity on what's next. It feels like restlessness, but it's really a response. Your inner man is responding to what heaven is already releasing. And that's why things feel tight, why silence feels louder, why time feels slower. Because your spirit is already there. But your life is still catching up. God often lets your spirit touch the future first, so you have faith to endure the present. You've already seen flashes of what's ahead. You've dreamed it. You've felt it in worship. You've wept, just thinking about it. But now, you're in the in-between, and it's stretching you, testing you, tuning you. Because before it becomes visible, God makes it unshakable in your spirit. That's why you can't fake it anymore. That's why shallow routines no longer satisfy. That's why old distractions feel repulsive now. You are not becoming antisocial. You're becoming spiritually synchronized with your assignment. Your appetite is changing. Your tolerance is shrinking. Your discernment is sharpening. All of this is divine. It's what happens when the spirit is about to birth something heaven wrote long ago. This is why you can't go back, even if you tried. It wouldn't work, because your spirit has already said yes. And once your spirit agrees with God, your life has no choice but to follow. Right now, you're being summoned. You're being pulled into alignment, into consecration. Into the next scroll, You feel it when you wake up. You feel it when you try to rest. You feel it even when you smile. Something is coming, and it's not anxiety. It's not a breakdown. It's not random change. It's heaven drawing you forward. And your spirit is responding first. Here's how to honor what your spirit already knows. Stop asking for confirmation you've already received in peace. If your spirit is still, trust it. God often speaks in quiet knowing, not loud signs. Honor your intuition, not your insecurity. If your gut says don't go, don't go. If peace withdraws, follow it. Your spirit knows what your mind will understand later. Protect your atmosphere. If your spirit is sensitive right now, don't crowd it. Silence is sacred. Alone time is strategy. Stillness is obedience. Don't rush to explain yourself. Not everyone will understand what you're sensing, and they're not supposed to. Where spiritual shifts often come with loneliness. Because God is isolating your frequency for accuracy. You don't need to defend what God is birthing in you. You only need to stay in position. Because what you're feeling right now is not fear. It's awakening. And once your spirit awakens, there is no going back to sleep. You will never be comfortable again with being comfortable. You will never settle for surface again. You will never ignore your discernment again, because you've tasted the edge of something eternal. You've glimpsed what's next. You've touched a scroll that hasn't even opened yet. And now, you're ruined for anything less than God's full intention, even if you can't name it yet, even if you don't know the timing, even if you're still waiting on the physical signs. Your spirit knows, and that knowing is a gift. It's the advanced notice of glory. It's heaven's way of saying, I trust you enough to feel what's next before it appears. Now your job is to protect that feeling like a flame. Fan it, tend it. Don't let culture drown it. Let distraction dim it. Because that feeling, that sense, that quiet recognition, it's sacred. You didn't make this up. You're not being dramatic. You're not imagining things. Your spirit really is picking up on heaven's movement. And that matters. Because in the kingdom, this feeling is often the forerunner of fulfillment. Before the waters part, your spirit will start to feel tension before the promotion lands. Your spirit will feel the discomfort of stretching before the scroll arrives. Your spirit will begin rejecting what once felt safe. This is how God prepares you. This is how destiny wakes you up. This is how purpose begins to press through your ribs. So if everything around you feels off, if the room feels smaller than it used to, if conversations drain you more than they used to, you're not malfunctioning. You're maturing. Your spirit has upgraded. Now it's pulling the rest of you higher. But be careful, this is the part where many get confused, because when the inner world evolves, but the outer world lags behind, you start feeling frustrated. You'll feel stuck, like something's about to break. But nothing has moved yet. And that pressure makes people do one of two things. They either force something out of season, or they retreat back to what's comfortable, but neither one will birth what you're sensing, because the shift you feel is spiritual before it's circumstantial. And your job right now is not to figure it all out. Your job is to flow with the knowing. You don't need all the answers. You only need to obey what your spirit is whispering. If God says fast, do it. If he says pull back, honor it. If he says wait, resist the urge to act just to feel control, because this moment is sensitive and the next scroll is sacred. When you're this close to divine activation, heaven will often hide clarity to develop trust. You're not lost. You're being led, step by step, voice by voice, whisper by whisper, and your spirit knows which way to go, even if your mind doesn't have the map yet. So stop asking, what if I'm wrong? And start asking, what if I'm finally hearing correctly? Because the more you honor the leading of your spirit, the more supernatural alignment you'll begin to walk in. You'll open the right email at the right time. Say the right thing without overthinking. Be in the right place without planning it. Why? Because your spirit is synced with heaven's timeline. You're not just being guided. You're being calibrated. Think of it like this. God is fine-tuning your frequency so that when breakthrough shows up, you'll recognize it by peace, not pressure. This is how mature ones walk, not by chasing signs, but by honoring the stirrings. They don't wait for things to be obvious. They move when their spirit says, "This is it. This is the moment. This is the way." That's who you're becoming. Someone who flows with the flame. Someone who walks by knowing, not by needing proof. And the more you move with your spirit, the more heaven will trust you with what's next. Because obedience is the test, sensitivity is the key, and surrender is the unlock. You've passed the first wave. Now God is sharpening your ear. You don't need to fight for attention. You don't need to explain your decisions. You don't need to convince anyone of what's coming because you already feel it. You already know it. You already carry the rhythm of what heaven is about to reveal. And now, it's just a matter of alignment. This is the final refinement before arrival. Don't rush it. Don't mislabel it. Don't numb it. Let your spirit stay loud. Let your flesh stay submitted. Let your frequency rise, because the new has already begun in you, and soon the rest of your life will catch up. You've already crossed a threshold, not a physical one, but a spiritual boundary that most never reach. The kind where God no longer spoon-feeds you clarity, but expects you to walk by the echo of what He already said. Because your spirit remembers, even when your feelings forget. This is the season of internal alignment, where your life flows from what you carry in your spirit, not what you see in your surroundings. And that shift is where heaven begins to release weight. Because when God can trust you to move by discernment, He can trust you to carry responsibility. You're not just here for a blessing. You're here to birth something sacred. And birthing doesn't require perfect conditions. It only requires surrendered posture. You don't need to feel ready. You only need to stay sensitive. Because when your spirit is leading, you will walk into places you didn't plan, but were perfectly prepared. For that's how the Spirit works. It doesn't always give you blueprints. It gives you rhythm. And if you follow that rhythm, doors open, hearts shift, heaven moves. Not because you forced it, but because you followed the flow of knowing. You're not just waiting on the next move, you're becoming the move. You're not just watching for confirmation, you're carrying it in your bones. You are the fulfillment of prayers you don't even remember praying. And now, your spirit is testifying that it's time. Let me be clear. The warfare around you is proof of the weight within you. The sensitivity you feel is not weakness, it's maturity. The loneliness is not punishment, it's spiritual. Isolation for divine alignment. You are not being delayed. You are being delivered into your next scroll. But before that scroll can open, God must know that your spirit, not your ego, is in control. That's why your spirit is louder now. Why your taste is changing. Why your senses are heightened. Why you can feel the shift even when nothing looks different. You are being made ready, not in your status, not in your resume, but in your spiritual posture. Because what's coming next isn't just for you, it's coming through you. And your spirit knows that. That's why it's rejecting old cycles. That's why it's resisting distractions. That's why it's grieving over what no longer fits. This is not regression. It's resurrection. The true you is waking up. The called you. The anointed you. The version of you that doesn't fold under pressure because it's been hidden with God too long to fear man now. That's what the pressure has been producing. That's what the silence has been carving. And your spirit knows. This is the moment. This is the edge, the tipping point. The final alignment before release. So don't look for outside validation. Look inward. Ask your spirit, are we ready? Because if you listen carefully, you'll hear heaven answer, yes, it's time. This is your confirmation. You are not crazy. You are not behind. You are not stuck. You are simply being drawn by the Spirit. And when the Spirit leads, it often takes you where no one else can follow. That's why it's been quiet. That's why your crowd got smaller. That's why your conversations feel different. Because you are entering a scroll level that cannot be shared until it is fully surrendered and your spirit is bearing witness, not with noise, not with hype, but with that quiet, burning awareness that says something holy is near. There is a moment in every calling where you stop chasing confirmation, start trusting conviction. That's where you are. You don't need another sign. You don't need 3 more messages. You don't need everyone to agree with you, because your spirit has already agreed with God. And that agreement is what unlocks momentum. From here forward, things won't move by force. They'll move by frequency. If your spirit is in alignment, doors will open, resources will come, people will find you, assignments will be released, not because you worked harder, but because you were already in position. This is not a season to grind. This is a season to glide, to move at the speed of the Spirit, to trust the tug inside, to let peace be your compass, that tug you feel when you're quiet, that pressure you feel before you wake, that deep knowing when you pray. That is heaven. That is your spirit, picking up what your life hasn't caught up to yet. So don't fight it. Follow it. Don't silence it. Submit to it. Don't rush it. Rest in it, because everything you've been sensing is real. You are not waiting on breakthrough. Breakthrough is waiting on your alignment. And your spirit, your beautiful, refined, Holy Spirit-led inner man is ready. Now it's time to bring your actions into agreement. Let your yes match what your spirit already whispered. Let your obedience echo the amen that already formed in your heart, because heaven is watching. Angels are leaning in. And your next scroll is already unfolding. Your spirit knew it first. Now, let your faith follow it all the way through. No fear, no striving, just trust. Heaven is near, and your spirit is always known. What if I told you that the shift you've been crying for, fasting for, begging God for, has already started? What if I told you it's not coming, it's here, not in full form, not all at once, but in seed, in silence, it's in signals. Your spirit has already noticed this is not the waiting season. This is the moving season, but only those who are aligned will recognize it, because the shift you've been praying for doesn't always look like a breakthrough at first. Sometimes it looks like resistance. Sometimes it feels like loneliness. Sometimes it shows up as small doors, unusual nudges, and divine discomfort. And if you judge it by your emotions, you'll miss it. But if you discern it by your spirit, you'll realize you're already standing in it. The shift has already started. That's why your appetite changed. It's why your restlessness increased. That's why you feel like you're walking away from things you used to pray to keep. You're not crazy. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're moving, not by sight, not by logic, but by spirit. And the shift began. The moment you stopped begging God to bless your old season. You see, many people want change, but they won't let go of what feels familiar. They want movement, but still hold on to what feels manageable. They pray for fire, but lives soaked in compromise, and so God waits. Not because he's ignoring you, but because he's waiting for your inner world to say yes without fear. And now, said yes, in quiet, in pain. In moments no one saw, and heaven has responded. You didn't feel it, but the scroll shifted. The instructions updated, the wind changed direction, and now, you're not just waiting for the shift, you are inside. Let me show you something. Every time God prepares to release you into a new dimension, he begins shifting your identity before he shifts your location. That's why lately, you've questioned who you are. You've stopped chasing certain goals. You've been revisiting old wounds. You've been craving stillness more than spotlight. These are not random. They're signs. Proof that heaven is reshaping your internal compass to handle what's next. Because God doesn't shift your life without first shifting your lens. This is why the people around you feel different. Why your goals are changing. Why the things that used to excite you feel draining now. You are not losing passion. You're gaining precision. You're not giving up. You're growing into something you can't even explain yet. And that growth is the shift, not the final moment, but the unfolding of it. There's something powerful you need to hear. You're not being delayed. You're being prepared in motion. Because this time, the shift is not waiting on permission. It's waiting on your posture. And the moment you surrendered control, you triggered acceleration. Even if the calendar doesn't show it yet, even if your bank account doesn't reflect it yet, or even if your environment still looks the same, your surrender changed everything. Heaven doesn't need your perfection. It needs your permission, and now that you've given it, everything has started shifting behind the scenes. That's why you're uncomfortable. That's why the old system no longer works. Why your timing feels off. Why doors you used to walk through now feel blocked. It's because you're being rerouted by grace. Upgraded without warning. It's promoted through pressure. And the shift isn't waiting on your strategy. It's waiting on your sensitivity. This is how the shift starts. First, the rhythm around you changes. You can't rest the way you used to. Mornings feel more urgent. Your spirit gets agitated in still places. You start waking up with words you didn't study. You start seeing patterns you never noticed. You feel drawn to fasts you didn't plan. That's not instability. It's instruction. It's heaven alerting your system. Get in position. The scroll is turning. Second, your relationships shift. People grow distant. Connections dissolve. New names come out of nowhere with clarity, purpose, alignment. This is because the shift you're in requires new covering, new conversations, and new accountability. God is not removing people to punish you. He's making room for those who can run with the new you. Third, your resources shift. Suddenly, provision seems uncertain. Money flows strange. Jobs feel tight. Ideas increase, but with no immediate results. This is where most people panic. But those who move in the Spirit know what's really happening. God is adjusting your dependence. He's weaning you off of Egypt. He's severing the systems that fed you in your last season, so you'll stop worshiping the provision and start trusting the provider. Hear this clearly. The shift doesn't always come with more. Sometimes it starts with less, so your spirit can stretch into new stewardship. Because God is not blessing your comfort zone. He's launching you into your calling. And calling will never feel like convenience. It will feel like contradiction until the promise reveals itself. You realize the discomfort was divine. This is the shift you prayed for. It didn't look like you expected. It didn't come when you wanted, but it's here. It's real. It's working. It will not return void. You've entered a space where heaven is moving faster than your logic, where things are happening in the spirit realm before your life can explain them. You're living in what the Bible calls divine acceleration, and that kind of shift doesn't just move you forward. It transforms you mid-step. You're not the same person you were 6 months ago. You're not even the same person you were last week. Because when heaven begins to move, your identity shifts first. Your vocabulary sharpens. Your discernment deepens. Your hunger intensifies. And without realizing it, you begin outgrowing rooms you used to pray to enter. That's not arrogance. It's alignment. God is not changing your life to impress you. He's changing it to entrust you. He's giving you scrolls now, the kind you used to only dream about. Assignments that require clarity. People that need the weight you carry, not the mask you wear. And to walk in that, you can't stay who you are. The shift is not just moving you into new territory. It's moving you into a new version of you. The one who doesn't need approval, doesn't shrink for comfort, doesn't apologize for being anointed, doesn't chase validation, because you already carry vision. This is what divine transition feels like. Not a loud announcement, but a slow unraveling of everything you thought you needed so God can reveal everything you actually carry. Let's make this clear. The shift will require grief. You'll mourn old dreams, bury old plans, weep over the version of you that tried their best, but wasn't built for where you're going. And then you'll rise, not with fanfare, but with fire. Because now you're not just moving, you're moving with weight, with heaven's backing, with angelic support. Because the shift has already begun. This is why you've been feeling pressure. It's the tension between who you were and who you are becoming. It's the vibration between your old assignment and your next scroll. And the more you say yes, the more your life will align itself with supernatural rhythm. The right calls will come. The right people will appear. The right provision will land. And it won't be because you hustled harder. It'll be because you finally let your spirit lead. Let's talk about what most people miss when the shift begins. You don't get proof, you get pressure, not applause. Not open doors, not instant clarity. You get tested, stretched, hidden, because heaven always tests what it intends to trust. And if you've been feeling hidden lately, if your name hasn't been called, if your inbox is quiet, if the room you wanted rejected you, that's not punishment. It's the process. That's the prelude to promotion. Heaven doesn't reveal new glory until it knows you can carry it, not with gifting, but with submission. And that's what this pressure is testing. Will you stay low? Will you keep obeying? Will you carry weight when no one is watching? Because when the shift starts, God doesn't raise your platform. He deepens your roots. He'll take you off the stage so he can strengthen your spine. He'll slow your calendar so he can stretch your capacity. He'll quiet your environment so you finally learn to hear his whisper over the crowd. The evidence of promotion isn't popularity. It's pruning. You'll start shedding habits that numbed your clarity. People who couldn't see your growth, conversations that drain your oil, versions of you that were never meant to survive the scroll end even though it hurts. It's working because God doesn't cut what he doesn't plan to cultivate. This shift is already active. You just don't recognize it because it's happening internally before it manifests externally. It's subtle. It's sacred. Slow on purpose. Because God is not interested in microwaving your miracle. He's marinating your identity so when he launches you, let this settle in your spirit. You're not missing the moment. You're being matured for it. You're not being skipped. You're being shaped. You're not behind. You're being built. And soon, everything around you will catch up to what your spirit already knows. The shift is here. This is your confirmation. What you've been praying for, fasting for, crying out for in secret, has already begun. No, it hasn't fully manifested. But spiritually, it's moving. It's unfolding. It's aligning. It's being escorted by angelic order, straight into your timeline, and all you have to do now is walk in sync with it. Here's what that looks like. You stop striving. You don't chase open doors. You wait on green lights. You don't force conversations. You speak when heaven prompts. You start protecting your peace like prophecy. Anything that disrupts your frequency gets cut, not out of offense, but out of obedience. You respond to God with motion, not just emotion. No more crying without action. No more revelation without response. God says move, you move. You expect evidence, but you trust before it arrives, because you know the shift is not based on what you see. It's based on what you know in your spirit. And what do you know right now? You know you're not who you used to be. You know your prayers are hitting differently. You know heaven is watching. You know something irreversible has started in your life. You know the scroll has opened. So from this moment on, walk like it's real, talk like it's unfolding, move like it's already written, because it is. You've stepped into something sacred, something that can't be undone, something custom built by the same God who whispered your name long before you ever asked for a breakthrough. And now, the shift you begged for is shifting you, not just your situation, but your spirit, not just your bank account, but your boldness, not just your relationships, but your revelation. You're becoming a living testimony of what happens when someone surrenders at the right time and lets God have his way fully. So listen to this closely. Don't wait for life to catch up. Walk in it now. Speak in it now. Pray like you're in the middle of it. Praise like the door is already open, because it is. The shift is not a promise. It's a process that has already begun, and everything that seemed stuck is now moving in your favor. Not because of who you are, but because of who he is. You've entered the shift. You've passed the test. Now walk in it with confidence. Heaven is with you. Angels are going before you. The oil is on you. Your scroll is active. It's done. You're not imagining the warfare. You're not overthinking the pressure. Not too emotional, too weak, or too sensitive. You're in the final hour, right before release. And this moment, this stretch of heaviness, confusion, and fatigue is not random. It's strategic, because the enemy always attacks The loudest right before you step into the loudest moment of heaven's release over your life. Let's expose it. Why do things get harder the moment you decide to move in obedience? Why do old habits resurface when you finally get clarity? Why do spiritual attacks intensify right after you pray boldly? Because the enemy knows he can't stop the scroll. But he'll do everything to distract the one chosen to carry it. You. That's why you feel like you're being pulled apart. That's why your mind's been under siege. That's why your rest is restless. That's why your body feels exhausted. It's not just stress, it's spiritual interference, because your breakthrough has been scheduled. And hell caught the memo. Don't mislabel this moment. What you're calling spiritual warfare. Heaven is calling final stage preparation. The closer you get to divine release, the more violent the distractions will become. Because darkness doesn't fight what's irrelevant. It only resists what's about to be revealed. Here's the truth. The attack is a compliment. It's proof that you're not just approaching a blessing. You're approaching impact. Your yes is dangerous. Your clarity is threatening. Your alignment is disruptive to darkness. So of course the enemy is shaking. Your surroundings, of course he's trying to get in your head. Of course your emotions are louder right now. You're on the edge of a moment that will shift the atmosphere. Not just for you, but for everyone tied to your obedience. This is not just resistance. This is the last push, the contractions before birthing, the trembling before deliverance, stretching before revelation. And if you faint now, you'll miss what heaven has already started to release. Stay alert. This is when the enemy gets creative. He'll send doubt masked as logic, distraction disguised as opportunity, delay, dressed up in comfort, discouragement wrapped in familiarity, because he knows if he can't stop the release, he'll try to make you walk away before it arrives. But what he doesn't know is that this time, you ready? Let's get clear. This warfare is not proof of failure, it's confirmation of alignment. The enemy isn't attacking because you're weak. He's attacking because you've become undeniable. He sees what's coming. He senses the weight on your life. He knows once you walk through this threshold, he loses access. So now, he throws everything. Unexpected delays, emotional overwhelm, conflict with people you love, old addictions trying to resurface whispered lies that sound like your own thoughts. Why? Because his last strategy is always to confuse the one carrying glory. Let's expose this further. You're under pressure because you've been entrusted. Entrusted with oil. Entrusted with answers. Entrusted with scrolls that were sealed. For this exact hour, and when heaven marks you, hell monitors you. Not because it can cancel your destiny, but because it wants to make you forfeit it. The devil doesn't need to steal what God gave you. He just needs you to doubt it long enough that you lay it down yourself. But this time, you won't. Because now you know you're not being punished, you're being positioned. You're not being forgotten, you're being forged. You're not under attack because of what you lack, but because of what you carry. And what you carry is ready to be released. So, here's your instruction in this hour. Don't react. Respond in the Spirit. Don't chase distractions. Don't take spiritual bait. Stay rooted. Turn to the Word. Declare what heaven said, not what your feelings feel. Guard your gates. Watch what you consume. Fast from noise. Make your inner life louder than your environment. Pray preemptively. Don't just defend. Declare, decree, command alignment over everything. Connected to your name. This is not just survival. This is strategy. You're not just making it through. You're overthrowing old systems and walking into a promise. That's been prepared for years in this warfare. It's not your end. It's just your final exam. What you don't see is what's fighting for you. Because while the enemy launches his last attack, heaven has already released reinforcements. Right now, you are not alone. Angels have been dispatched. Assignments have been activated. Scrolls have been opened. And your name has been announced in the spirit realm. Listen carefully. In Daniel. Chapter 10. The answer to Daniel's prayer was sent on day 1. But there was resistance in the heavens, a war between realms. It's not because Daniel was wrong, Not because God didn't hear him, but because the enemy intercepted the release. And what did God do? He sent Michael the archangel to clear the path. And Daniel didn't even know it. This is what's happening right now. You think God is silent? You think your prayers have gone unnoticed? You think you're standing alone? But behind the scenes, angels have been released to war for your word. Because what's on its way to you is too. It's valuable to let pass through untouched. So yes, the resistance is real, but so is the backup. Heaven never leaves you vulnerable, and right now, the pressure you're feeling is actually the sound of divine activity. The delay is not denial, it's spiritual traffic. The shaking is not sabotage. Clearance for arrival, your angels are not just guarding you. They're fighting for the full release of what was promised, and that's why you can't quit now. Because to walk away in this moment would be to forfeit something that angels are currently defending on your behalf. So don't say I'm tired. Say I'm closer. Don't say nothing's happening. Say something's moving. Don't say I give up. Say I expect delivery. Because it's happening, even if you can't see it, even if you can't explain it, even if your emotions don't agree with it. The heavens have already shifted. You've made it to the hardest part, the part where most people fold. The moment. Right before manifestation, where the pressure feels like too much and the enemy screams the loudest, but this is where your weapons activate. And no, I'm not talking about striving, not fighting with your fists, not debating, not even defending. I'm talking about posture. Because when you're this close to breakthrough, the greatest weapon isn't effort, it's alignment. Worship becomes warfare. Stillness becomes strategy. Silence becomes surrender because your maturity is revealed in your ability to remain anchored while heaven completes the transfer. So what should you do right now? Worship. Not because everything's fine, but because you know who holds your outcome. Worship breaks confusion. It silences lies. Confuses the enemy. Because nothing disrupts hell like a believer who praises. It dash pressure. Then be still. This is the hardest for most people. But stillness is not passivity. It's possession. It says, I don't have to chase what's already mine. I don't need to manipulate what heaven already scheduled. I'm not begging. I'm receiving. Stillness tells the enemy you've already lost. And finally, stay low. Not low in worth, low in posture, low in pride, low in ego. Because release doesn't require elevation. It requires humility. The higher God takes you, the lower your posture must go. That's how you carry weight, without cracking under it. That's how you receive authority, without corrupting it. That's how you survive blessing, without becoming blind to its source. Right now, you're being tested for trust. Can God trust you to remain postured in the final push? Can He trust you to guard the scroll before it becomes public? Can He trust you to carry the weight of this next season without needing attention for it? Because if you can, you'll be trusted with even more. This is it. It's the final contraction. It's the last tightening before the opening. You've stood your ground. You've resisted the lies. You've postured yourself in worship and stillness. And now, release is inevitable. The very fact that the enemy sent his last wave is proof that his time is up, because darkness always thrashes when it's losing territory. And right now you are reclaiming ground. This is what breakthrough feels like. Not just ease, but clarity, alignment, freedom from things you never thought you'd survive. Your prayers are becoming patterns. Your faith is becoming fruit. Your obedience is becoming overflow. And all of it is happening in real time. So take a breath. You made it. You passed the test of silence. You passed the test of pressure. You passed the test of spiritual resistance. And now heaven is responding not with trickles, but with timed fulfillment. No delay, no denial, no detours. You are walking in a space that has been waiting for you, and nothing can stop it now. Here's your final instruction. Walk boldly. Not because you feel ready, but because your scroll is active. Obedience is your confirmation. Speak freely. Don't hold back your oil. The people assigned to you need it. Heaven didn't anoint you for silence. But for assignment, rest deeply. Stop checking the door. Stop pacing the hallway. The package has been delivered. The promise has been placed. The breakthrough has been secured. All that's left is for you to live like it. You didn't break, you didn't fold, didn't run. And now your reward is showing up not because you earned it, but because you endured for it. And the God who saw you in the quiet is now about to honor you in the open. So here it is, your release, unfiltered, unstoppable, undeniable. The scroll has turned. The war is over. The anointing remains, and your name still on heaven's lips. You've entered the moment. Now walk in it, and never look back.